Hey everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to create a stylized 3D study room that you see here using the free open source software called Blender. It doesn't matter if you are a beginner or an intermediate user, you will still be able to follow along this tutorial very easily. This will be a complete step-by-step tutorial, so even if you are opening the Blender software for the very first time, you will still be able to follow along this tutorial without any issue. So I'm using Blender 4.0.1 at the time of recording this tutorial. You will still be able to follow along this tutorial in the newer versions too. So let's quickly go over the navigations first. Blender is a heavily hotkey driven software. So we will be using shortcut keys for the most part. So you can see the keys that I'm pressing down here. You can also take a screenshot of this image that I'm displaying on the screen right now. So for your own reference. Okay, now the big window that you see here, this is called viewport. This is where we will spend most of our time modeling, texturing, lighting our objects. So this one is called outliner. So this is where all the objects in the 3D scene will be listed out. So we can organize our 3D viewport in the outliner over here. And this one is called properties. This contains various properties of the object, a scene, world, materials, light, and much more. So each of these icons has a different submenu, and we will go through one by one as we progress into our tutorial. So you can rotate the viewport using your middle mouse button. Click and hold your middle mouse button and move your mouse to rotate the viewport. To move the viewport, you can hold your shift key and click your middle mouse and hold and move your mouse to move the viewport. You can scroll your mouse front and back to zoom in and out, and you can also hold your control key and hold your middle mouse button and move your mouse front and back for more smooth zooming. Left clicking on any object will select that object, and right click will bring the object menu. To move any object, you have to press G and G for grab. So press G and move your mouse to move any object, and right click will keep the object where you picked it, and left click will confirm the movement. You can press Alt G to replace the movement ultimately. To select multiple objects, hold down your shift key and left click on multiple objects to select them. Deselect any object using your control key. Hold your control key and click and drag. This will deselect any object. So this is enough for the basic navigation. So let's just jump right in and learn the rest of these stuffs while creating the isometric scene. Before going into creating our isometric scene, let's quickly enable some add-ons that comes packed with Blender. So go to Edit and Preferences and go to the Add-ons menu, and let's type in Loop Tools. So make sure that you have checked this box over here. So I have already enabled this add-on, and Loop Tool allows us to edit object much more efficiently. And let's enable another one. Now type in Node Wrangler. The Node Wrangler add-on enables us to use some shortcuts while dealing with the nodes. And finally, Bool Tools. So this is really necessary to do some really efficient Boolean operations, and these are the three main add-ons that we are going to use in our tutorial. So make sure that you have enabled these, and if you come to the system option and make sure that you have the undo steps 256 times. So this is the number of times that you can press Ctrl Z to undo your actions that you have done in the viewport. For instance, if I have moved this cube over here, and if I want to press Ctrl Z, I can press Ctrl Z. So you can see that. So this is the amount of times that you can press Ctrl Z to go back into the actions and do some changes, and also enable a graphics card over here and your processor in case if you have a GPU. And I think that's enough for the settings. If you come to the interface over here, you can set the resolution scale depending upon your preference. So increasing the resolution will increase the overall UI resolution, and I'm going to keep it at 1.2, which works fine for me. And there will be a save preference button down here. So I have enabled the auto save preferences. So make sure that you have enabled the auto save preferences. So this will automatically save any kind of preference changes. So that's all for the system setting, guys. Now we can close this and let's start with creating our scene. So we don't need this. This is a light object. We don't need this one. So we can select this and press delete key to delete that. So this is my screencast keys add-on displaying here, which enables me to display the key that I'm pressing right now. You can bring in and bring out this menu by pressing the N key, and you can bring in and bring out this menu by pressing T. Now I don't need the camera right now, so I'm going to select this camera and press H to hide the camera. Ultimately, you can press Alt H to re-enable the camera. So I'm going to press H to hide this camera. You can also do that by clicking over here in the outliner, this small eye icon over here. So I'm going to disable the visibility of camera for now. So let's get started. So now let's use this cube to create the base structure of our room. So select this cube, press N to bring the side panel. Now go to the dimensions over here and click over here and drag your mouse down to select all these 3 axes and type in 4 for 4 by 4 by 4 meters for the dimensions of this room. Now let's move this cube above the grid. Press G and Z to move above. You can also hold your control key for incremental movement, and this will enable us to snap our cube perfectly above the floor, above the grid, like this. Whenever you scale or rotate any object on the object mode, you should always apply the scale and the rotation values. So right now we have adjusted the scale in the object mode, and this has affected the scale value. You can see the scale value is 2 currently, and by default it is set to 1, and we haven't actually rotated our object, so the rotation set to 0. So you can see if I rotate our object, the value changes. You should always apply the scale and rotation values. So whenever you are working in the object mode, so you can apply the scale and rotation values by pressing Ctrl A and choose scale to apply the scale. This will reset the scale values back to 1. So you should also do this for the rotation values too, in case if you have rotated your object. So this will be your first go-to option to fix something whenever it is not working the way you expect to be in Blender. So most of the time it can be fixed by applying just the scale and rotation values. So why am I saying this is really necessary for the functioning of various modifiers and other functions in the Blender to work properly. So always apply your scale and rotation. In object mode, all we can do is rotate our object and scale our object. That's all we can do. So to edit our object a bit more in depth, we have to go into the edit mode. So while selecting this cube, press tab to enter the edit mode. Edit mode itself has 3 different selection modes. You can toggle in between them by pressing 1, 2, and 3. You can see how the appearance of the cube changes when I'm pressing 1, 2, and 3. So 1 for vertex mode, where you can see this small dots, and 2 for edge mode, where you can select these lines, and 3 for face mode, where you can select these faces. So you can also switch between them by clicking over here. This is the first one is for vertex mode, second one is for edge mode, and third one is for face mode. Now press 3 to enter the face mode, and I'm going to hold my shift key and select all these 3 faces that you see here, and press X and choose faces. This will delete all these 3 faces that we have selected. Now all we left with is these 3 faces, rest of these 3 faces. We will use this face as walls and floor for our isometric scene. Now press tab to switch back to object mode. Now let's give some thickness to our wall and floor. If you go to the wrench looking icon over here, or spanner, this is called modifier properties, and you can add different modifiers using this add modifier button. and let's search for a solidify modifier. The first one is solidify. In case if you don't see any of the modifiers, you can type in the name to search for it. So I'm gonna choose solidify modifier. So modifiers are a really great way to model objects in a non-destructive way. Let me quickly tell you what I mean when I say non-destructive. It means you can modify them anytime you want them. You can add new values or reset them to the old values as long as you don't delete those modifiers. So as long as I have this solidify option over here, the modifier, so clicking this X icon will delete the modifier. So I can always go and adjust the values, tweak as I like it. So let's try increasing the thickness slider over here to give some thickness to the walls. You can click on the slider and drag right side to increase the thickness. You can hold down your shift key for more precise movements. You can also type in some exact values if you know them to level up the thickness of the object exactly how you want to. So right now you can see the thickness, it is not even. So let's quickly fix that by checking the even thickness option over here. This will nicely fix this issue. So right now I'm going to enter 0.1 for the thickness. I have already practiced this scene before creating this tutorial, so I'll be applying some exact values like this. So this is nothing to be worried about. You can always tweak them as you like it. So the offset value that you see over here, this value decides which way the modifier will add thickness to your object. So right now it is set to -1 and the thickness is happening inside the object. If I set this to +1, the thickness will happen outside the object. So I like this to happen outside. Let's have the offset value to +1. Now let's add a bevel modifier to round off these razor sharp edges. So let's click add modifier and let's search for a bevel modifier. So as you can see, it has chamfered these edges. So if you go to the bevel modifier, scroll down and go to the bevel modifier, increase those segments will round off these edges really nicely. Also tweaking these amount value will determine the bevel amount. So if I zoom in really close, you can see that. So let's set this value to 0.01 for a really nice bevel. Right now it is showing all these edges. I'm going to right click and choose shade auto smooth. So this will really smooth out our object. And if you scroll down your bevel modifier and if you go to the shading option and enable harden normals, this will fix this shading. So that's enough for our room's base structure. So once you have made some progress in your scene, it is a good idea to save your file. So because Blender is notorious for its untimely crashing, so you should save your file as often as possible. So this will save you a lot of pain and save you a lot of progress. So let's quickly go to the file menu and choose save as. So make sure where you want to save your file. I'm going to call this Isometric Study Room and click save. This will nicely save your object. You can see the prompt down here. Now let's create some wooden floor for our isometric scene. You can press F2 and this will bring the object name menu, and you can rename this object any object that you want. I'm going to call this room base, and pressing enter will rename the object. You can ultimately go to the outliner and double click on any object to rename those objects. Now press tab to enter the edit mode and select this bottom face. Press shift D to create a duplicate. Right click to keep it in place and press P and choose selection to make it into a separate object. So while you make any object separate, you cannot select the object while in the edit mode. You have to go to the object mode and come back to the edit mode. So press tab to switch to object mode and select the duplicated object and press tab to enter the edit mode. Now press 1 for vertex selection mode and press Alt Z to enter the X-ray mode. You can also enter the X-ray mode by clicking this icon over here. So this will allow you to toggle between the X-ray mode and solid mode. Now press A to select everything. Press 1 for front orthographic view and zoom it in using your mouse wheel, and Alt Z to exit the X-ray view. Press G and Z and hold your shift key and slightly move it above the floor like this. Make sure this mesh is flushed against this one. Now we will be using this mesh to create the wooden boards. Now let's create some wooden segments of the floor. So I'm going to add 7 loop cuts across the mesh along the x-axis. So you can add a loop cut by pressing Ctrl R. So you can see that. You can see if I move the mouse, it is adding a loop cut over here. So we want this to happen along the x-axis. So press 7 for 7 loop cuts. So right now the loop tool is activated, but it hasn't actually placed the loop cut. To place the loop cut, you have to press left click. It is still in the movement. If you want to confirm the loop cut's placement, you have to left click, or if you want to place it in the center, you can just right click. So we want this to happen pretty on point. So I'm going to right click to keep it as it is. So right now we have 7 loop cuts and 8 faces. Now press 7 to enter the top orthographic view. Just click and drag to select all these faces except these last 2. Press X and choose faces to delete all these faces. Now press 2 to enter the edge mode and select this edge and press V to rip it out, and this will create the segment. If I go to the object mode, you can see it a bit more clearly. So entering the edit mode once again. So we are going to make some partitions across the mesh along the y-axis, and we will use an array modifier to create the rest of the wooden boards. So nothing to worry about. So right now the wooden board seems to be a bit thicker and I want it to be a bit thinner. So let's go to the solidify modifier and let's decrease the thickness slightly. I think it looks fine. Now let's press A to select everything, press G and Z to restrict the movement in the Z axis and push it down like this. I think it looks fine. So as you remember, we have made this one into a separate wooden board. So I'm going to add 2 loop cuts for this one and add 3 loop cuts for this one. So now selecting all these edges, hold your shift and click these edges to select these and press V to rip it out like this. Now we have a really nice wooden partition. Switch back to the object mode. Now go to modifier panel and let's add an array modifier. So right now it's on the top, array, or if you don't find it, just type array. As soon as I add the array modifier, you can see the array is happening in the x-axis, and that is because if we scroll down, the factor is set to 1 for the x-axis. So I'm going to set this to 0 and set the factor to 1 on the y-axis. So now it is arraying in the right direction, the direction that we want to. So to fill the rest of these spaces, you can increase the array count. And if you come here to the modifier, so right now the count is 2. Let's increase this to 4. And this is perfectly arrayed the rest of these spaces. So in case if you have a different scaled object, make sure to adjust the factor in the y-axis like this, so you can go beyond 1 or even less than 1. Make sure to put in the value that fits your need. Now I'm going to set this to 1 as it works fine for me. So that's all for the wooden floors. Now I'm going to save the file once more, so we don't want the progress to be lost, right? So press Ctrl S and save the file. So the walls are looking a bit flatter, so let's create some crown molding over here and some baseboards running along the lower area of the walls. Select this walls and press tab to enter the edit mode. Press Ctrl R to add a loop cut over here and slide it down about there. So you can press period key on your numpad to focus any object. I'm going to bevel this loop cut using Ctrl B. Press Ctrl and B and drag your mouse to bevel this. Don't worry if you haven't able to nail the bevel right at the first time. So you can see the operator panel that popped down here. So in case if it doesn't, it may be like this. It may have been like this. So click this and open the operator panel, and you can increase the width of the bevel, and you can increase the number of segments that you want to have in your bevel. So I'm going to set the segments to 1, and I'm going to set the width option to 0.08. So I have actually done this before, so that's why I was able to put in an exact value. So just for ease of this tutorial, so I'm going to press Shift D to create a duplicate of this bevel section, and right click to keep it in place. Now press P and choose selection to make it into a separate object. Now press Tab to enter the object mode. Now select the duplicated version and go to the solidify, and let's change the offset to -1 so that it is protruding outside the wall like this. So yeah, now once you are happy with baseboard, let's bring it down and place it over here, just so it is flushing against the wooden floors like this. It's looking good. Now make sure that your profile here is looking like a rectangle. Everything is set, and I'm going to apply the solidify modifier so that it gives us a bit more extra geometry to work with. I'm going to do some edits for this baseboard. Now press Ctrl A to apply the modifier, or you can click the drop down icon and choose apply to apply the modifier. Now if I press Tab, you can see it has provided the extra geometry that we can work with. So let's press Ctrl R to add a loop cut, and right click to keep it in the place. Now hold your Alt key and click over here. So this will select these edge loops. Now press G twice to activate the edge slide option, and drag your mouse above to make sure to hold your Shift key to make some really precise movements, and slightly move it like this. This has created some interesting shape for the baseboard. I think it looks great now. Now let's create the crown molding using the same method. So select this wall and press Tab to enter the edit mode. Press Ctrl R and move it over here, just about there. Yeah, I think it's fine. Now let's press 3 and choose these two faces. Press Shift D to create a duplicate. I'm going to move this above our walls, just about there, and press P and choose selection to make it into a separate object. Press Tab to enter the object mode. Select this crown molding. Press 7 to enter the top orthographic view. I'm going to increase the solidification of this crown molding. So let's give it a bit more thickness, I think about there. So make sure that it has a somewhat square profile like this. I'm going to align this profile with this one. So press G and X to move it in the X-axis, and hold Ctrl key to move it in the X-axis in an incremental manner. So I think it looks fine in this one. So press 3 for side orthographic view, and press G and Y and hold your Ctrl key and move it slightly so that it is aligned perfectly. I think it looks great. So now that we have adjusted the placement for our crown molding, let's do some more editing, and for that we need a bit more geometry for this. So let's apply the solidify modifier. So remember, Ctrl A to apply modifiers, and now press Tab to enter the edit mode. Make sure that you are in the face mode, or press 3. So select these two faces. Now zoom in, and for a better view, press I to insert, and slightly drag your mouse. Make sure to hit the Shift key if you need it, and make sure that is right there. Now press E to extrude, And don't worry about its overlapping. So as long as it has this a rim extruding over this walls, it's all fine. Now it looks much better. So let's check this angle. I think it looks fine. Maybe we can slightly move this in the y-axis. Okay, it looks great. Now let's create some windows in the walls. Make sure to save your file. Ctrl S to save. Okay guys, that's it for this video. Let's continue the rest in the next part. Make sure to get to this point and don't skip anything. In case if you have any doubts, please leave them in the comment section down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you find this tutorial useful, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more future contents, and hit the bell icon to get notified instantly when I release them. So that will be for this video. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.